This is the story of a television show where actors were literally trapped inside 80-pound dinosaur suits for 12 hours a day, could only see through an open mouth, and lost pounds of body weight from heat alone. This is the story of Dinosaurs, the Jim Henson show that almost suffocated its cast. In 1988, Jim Henson had an idea. He wanted to make a sitcom. Not a sitcom with people. Not a sitcom with Muppets. A sitcom about a family of dinosaurs. Full-size, realistic, walking, talking dinosaurs performed by human beings sealed inside massive animatronic suits. Henson had just seen the technology his own creature shop was developing for the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and he was blown away by what was possible. If you could put actors inside giant turtle suits and make audiences believe they were alive, why not dinosaurs? Why not an entire cast of them, 5 nights a week, on network television? It was visionary. It was also genuinely dangerous. But to understand just how dangerous, you first need to understand the Ninja Turtles. That is where this technology was born, and that is where the nightmare began. The 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film was a production that almost did not happen. Studios thought the producers were out of their minds. The budget was a modest $13.5 million. The suits, those incredible groundbreaking suits that made the turtles look real, weighed 70 pounds each. 70 pounds of foam, latex, and mechanical components strapped to a human body. Josh Pace, who played Raphael, described how his body casting went. They covered him in plaster and put straws in his nose so he could breathe. Later, they told him they had kept him in the mold longer than necessary just to see if he would freak out. That was before they even started filming. Once production began, the reality was brutal. Leonardo actor David Foreman recalled that between shoots, the performers crawled around on all fours most of the time, looking like actual turtles, but suffering tremendous pain. The suits were so physically taxing that actors lost around 5 pounds per day just from the heat and exertion. Pies described what happened when he would finally get out of the suit and the outside air hit his overheated body. The temperature change to his overheated core nearly killed him. He summed up the entire experience in 3 words: "We were dying." And yet the film made $202 million worldwide. The technology worked. The audiences believed. Jim Henson saw a future. Unfortunately, Henson would not live to see that future fully realized. On May 16, 1990, just weeks after the Ninja Turtles film premiered, Jim Henson died unexpectedly at the age of 53. He died just days before he was set to sell his company to Disney for a reported $150 million, a deal that would have provided generous payouts to his Muppet performers and longtime employees. Reports from The New Yorker said he had continued working on his dinosaur project until the last months of his life, but the show went forward. Brian Henson, Jim's son, continued development. Michael Jacobs and Bob Young served as co-creators. Kirk Thatcher, a Henson team member, designed the characters. On April 26, 1991, Dinosaurs premiered on ABC. The show followed the Sinclair family, a working-class family of anthropomorphic dinosaurs living in 60 million in 3 BC. Earl Sinclair was the bumbling father. Fran was the patient wife. Robbie was the idealistic teenage son. Charlene was the materialistic daughter. Then there was baby Sinclair, the scene-stealing infant whose catchphrases, "Not the mama," and "I'm the baby, gotta love me," became cultural phenomena. Those phrases came from co-creator Bob Young's actual son and ended up printed on merchandise everywhere. The names were deliberate Easter eggs. Sinclair referenced Sinclair Oil Corporation, which famously uses a dinosaur in its logo. Other characters had names like Phillips, Hess, Richfield, BP, and Ethel, all references to oil companies and petroleum products. It was satire baked into the DNA of the show. Behind the clever writing and expressive puppetry was a production that pushed human endurance to its limits. The dinosaur suits weighed up to 80 pounds. They required about an hour just to put on. Then the actors wore them for average shooting days of 12 hours. Many of the suit performers came directly from the Ninja Turtles production, so they knew what they were getting into. Knowing didn't make it easier. Leif Tilden, who wore the Robbie Sinclair suit, had played Donatello in the Ninja Turtles films. He described the suits as the NASA of puppetry. When asked what the Turtles' experience taught him, he talked about pacing yourself in the heat and keeping hydrated. These were not artistic concerns, these were survival skills. The Earl Sinclair costume presented its own unique challenge. The performer inside could only see out through the character's open mouth. That's it. The only window to the outside world was a gap between rubber dinosaur lips. The production team built a creative workaround directly into the character. They made Earl sigh constantly as he walked across rooms. That heavy, exasperated exhale wasn't just a character trait. It was functional. It forced the mouth open long enough for the actor inside to see where he was going. Bill Beretta performed inside the Earl suit for most of the series, while puppeteers like Dave Goelz and later Mac Wilson operated the facial radio controls from outside. Stuart Pankin and Sally Struthers provided voices. Kevin Clash, famous for performing Elmo, was the one exception to this divided system. He both puppeteered and voiced Baby Sinclair, and his colleagues considered him a genius for it. Tilden said Clash had the spirit of Frank Oz and Jim Henson themselves. Here's the detail that really captures what this production was like. The costumes were too big and too complicated to take on and off between scenes. The actors just stayed inside them. During the long stretches of downtime that are normal on any television set, performers sat there, sealed inside 80-pound dinosaur suits, unable to get out. They would fall asleep inside the costumes. The production was so protective of the illusion that during the entire first season, the network and producers banned all press from visiting the set. They didn't want any photographs of puppeteers wearing partial costumes. They were terrified that a picture of a dinosaur with its head off would traumatize children and destroy the magic. The show ran for 4 seasons and 65 episodes. It ended with what many consider the darkest series finale in television history. The final episode, called Changing Nature, saw the dinosaurs inadvertently trigger an ice age that would lead to their extinction. The last scene showed the Sinclair family huddled together as snow fell and temperatures dropped, the newscaster telling viewers to take care of themselves and their loved ones. ABC President Ted Harbert was uncomfortable with the ending, but allowed it to air. Co-creator Michael Jacobs said they wanted the episode to be educational. The show's creators knew cancellation was coming when they wrote season 4, and they chose to go out with a message about environmental destruction that hits even harder today than it did in 1994. Since the show ended, the puppets have deteriorated. The mechanical innards of the animatronic heads are displayed at the Jim Henson Company lot. A damaged Baby Sinclair puppet surfaced at a UK auction in the summer of 2023. On Rotten Tomatoes, the series holds a 91% approval rating, with its 4th and final season achieving a perfect 100%. Leif Tilden offered one brutally honest reflection on the whole experience. He said there was a spirit lacking from dinosaurs. Jim and Frank Oz were his heroes. Their spirit was unique, and dinosaurs needed it. The show was technically brilliant, culturally significant, and physically punishing. Without the man who dreamed it up, something was missing. Jim Henson imagined a world where dinosaurs could make us laugh, make us think, and make us feel. His team built that world. The people inside those suits nearly broke their bodies to bring it to life. Dinosaurs wasn't just a show about extinction. In many ways, it was a monument to what humans will endure in service of someone else's impossible vision.